Dasa Vrindavanam Bande Krishna Dasa Prabhum Tata Chanavatar Chaitanya Leela Vistar Kadino Do Nityananda Padabja Karunadena Bhushito Vyatachano Burachincho Vavande Vyasarupino Shri Guru Gaur Gandharva Govindascha Ganaisaha Jayanti Patakaschacha Sarvesham Karanartino. So we are continuing Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita after some adventures in Japan. And so we are on chapter 4 of the Madhya Lila, the glories of Mādhavendra Purī. And we came to description of the third dream of Mādhavendra Purī from the Lord. And he is on he's fulfilled this mission impossible of collecting this special sandalwood, and he's on his way to bring it to Gopal in Vrindavan on Govardhan. And on the way, he stops again at that Ramuna temple where that Gopinath deity was. And then he receives the third dream. Right? So we'll pick up from there. So Mādhavendra Purī took rest that night in the temple, but toward the end of the night he had another dream. So I'm in 158. Gopala siya kohe shuno he Madhav karpur chandanami pailama sab. Mādhavendra Purī dreams that Gopal came before him and said, "O Mādhavendra Purī, I have already received all the sandalwood and camphor." Karpur sahit gashiye sab chandan Gopinath ange nitya koroho lepan. Now just grind all the sandalwood together with the camphor and then smear the pulp on the body of Gopinath daily until it is finished. Gopinath amar se ekai anga hoye iha ke chandan dile hobe moy tapakoy. There is no difference between my body and Gopinath's body. They are one and the same. Therefore, if you smear the sandalwood pulp on the body of Gopinath, you will naturally also smear it on my body. Thus the temperature of my body will be reduced. Dindana bhavihona koriho kichu mane vishwas kori chandan deho amar vachane. You should not hesitate to act according to my order. Believing in me, just do what is needed. Wow. Vishwas kori, like have faith in my words. He's saying, Amar Rachan, Vishwas kori chandam. So I don't remember if we discussed this in our last classes, but it's really, it's a very beautiful lesson here, right? That you see the Lord doesn't actually need service from anyone, right? And when he's giving some service, it's an expression of his love and his trust, right? And it's an exchange of love that he's asking you to do. So he asked Mādhavendra Purī, can you bring me that sandalwood? It's part of his loving play, right? But then, then Mādhavendra Purī is demonstrating, his devotion and his strong conviction, his dedication by going and taking up this task. But then in the end, the Lord's saying, actually, you don't need to go through all that physical effort to carry it all the way here. I'm accepting your offering wherever you are. You could offer to this deity, right? So it's not about the physical exchange, right? It's never about, service is never about that, And actually, we were just talking a little about management, right? And taking care of communities. And this is something that is difficult to remember, but we have to remember that it's never about that thing. That's not what it's about, right? It's not about what this person did or didn't do, or what was the other thing I was going to say? Or getting the job done, right? It's never what they did to me or they didn't do to me. That's never what it's about, actually. It's all an opportunity to grow, right? It's all like, they're different types of examinations for our heart, right? How can we grow in our mood of love and devotion and sacrifice, dedication? That's what it's about. They're all opportunities. Because the objective world, the world of he said, she said, that's just a screen. It's just a cover. It's just a cover. The real existence is in consciousness, right? So it's something we always have to remember. It's never about the physical thing, right? But how can we grow in our consciousness? How can we grow in our heart? That's what it's actually about. So I saw a few times with Gurudev, he did this interesting thing where like he wasn't interested in the external aspect, but what was our internal relationship with it. Like, for example, there was this one devotee, I think it was in Venezuela, and they wanted to take second initiation, but they had a beard, and he asked Gurudev, can I take second? And Gurudev said, oh, but you have long hair and a beard, and normally you would shave, right? The Vaishnavas don't hold these things. And so he said, I'd like to take second. And Gurudev said, oh, but you have this beard. And the man immediately said to, the devotee immediately said to Gurudev, oh, I can go and shave it, no problem. And then Gurudev said, oh, now I see you're not attached to it. Then you can keep it. Then you don't have to. No, you don't have to. And Janardhan Maharaj, he told a similar thing. He used to visit his mother. And normally sannyasis aren't supposed to do that, right? They're meant to cut ties with their birthplace and their family. But Janardhan Maharaj used to go and stay with his mother, not every now and again. And another sannyasi was teasing him about it. Oh, or maybe not teasing, but actually getting on his case. It's not appropriate for a sannyasi. And so then Janardhan Maharaj asked Gurudev, like, is it okay? And Gurudev said, I know you're not attached to your mother. Like you don't have a family bonding, like binding attachment. You don't have that type of relationship with her. Then it's no problem. Like Gurudev wasn't interested in the external appearance of things, right? But what is the internal, right? In that time, he was asked, which edition of Chaitanya Bhagavat should we read? And this edition will have less ego than that edition, so read this edition. It's like a radically different way of perceiving the world, seeing everything in consciousness, and it's nothing to do with the external physical plane. So this is our challenge, right? As trying to be members of a community of practitioners, right? It's one thing to practice on our own, but to have that responsibility of making it, of like sharing it within a community and working with the community, that's difficult. It's very difficult. But this is a principle that can always help us, to see everything as is actually an examination for us, And Gurudev also mentioned that Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he said, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, Guru Maharaj taught me that if we see a fault in a devotee, it is a test from Krishna for me. Like Krishna is showing that fault for me as a test. Like, how will I respond to this? How will I deal with this? So this is like a very radical, progressive, revolutionary way to live our lives. Radical love. And that will lead to radical progress. So it's very beautiful, right? Just to see this loving exchange, right? That the Lord has with His beloved devotee. And another point, I think I already mentioned it, but again we can say, is the Lord wants to glorify His devotees. That's another thing that's also mentioned, that the Lord will sometimes put His devotees in difficult situations in order to show the world, like how glorious how much they could tolerate, right? How much they could attain in service, right? How great is their devotion? So that is another thing. Because especially the great devotees, they don't have karma, right? They don't need to suffer. But the Lord will put them in difficult situations so the world can see their wonderful example. You know? So we can also think, okay, we're not great devotees, but whatever difficulty comes, it is an opportunity for us to show what we got. To shine, to shine a little bit. Please our Gurudev. Okay. So I like that line so much. And Gopal, he says to Mādhavendra Purī, do not hesitate, have faith in my words.
What's the Sanskrit?
Bengali. Let me see. So this line, dvidana bhaviho, like don't have hesitation. Na koriho kicho mane. This line is not clear, like taken by itself. Na koriho kicho mane, like don't think anything in your mind. Like literally, do not do anything in the mind. Do not hesitate. Don't do anything in your mind. Don't listen to your mind. Vishwas kori, have faith. Amar vachane, my words. And offer this sandalwood. Chandan deho, offer this sandalwood. So like, don't think anything else. Don't hesitate. Just have faith in my words and offer this sandalwood. Vyabhava satmika buddhi. That's what's being described as one-pointed consciousness. Vyabhava satmika buddhi. This is what we aspire for. To have this faith in the words of Guru and the Lord, one-pointed consciousness. Okay. Eta boli gopa gelo, gosai jagila, gopinathar seva gane, dakiya anila. After giving these instructions, Gopal disappeared, and Srila Mādhavendra Purī awoke. He immediately called for all the servants of Gopinath, and they came before him. Prabharagya hoilo ekarpur chandan, Gopinathar ange nitya koroho lepan. Mādhavendra Purī said, smear the body of Gopinath with this camphor and sandalwood I brought for Gopal in Vrindavan. Do this regularly every day. Ihake chandan dile Gopal hoibe shital, satantra ishvatar agya se prabal. If the sandalwood pulp is smeared over the body of Gopinath, then Gopal will be cooled. After all, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is completely independent. His order is all-powerful. Grishmakale Gopinath paribe chandan, shuni anandito hoilo sevake raman. The servants of Gopinath became very pleased to hear that in the summer all the sandalwood pulp will be used to anoint the body of Gopinath. Podiko he dui gashibe chandan, Adojana dui deho diboje vetan. Mādhavendra Purī said, these two assistants will regularly grind the sandalwood, and you should also get 2 other people to help. I shall pay their salaries. Himata chandandeya pratyahagashiya padai sevaksa bananda kodiya. In this way, Gopinathji was supplied ground sandalwood pulp daily. The servants of Gopinath were very pleased with this. Pratyaha chandan padai javat hoilo hanta, tatairo hilo podi tavat parjanta. In this way, the sandalwood pulp was smeared over the body of Gopinath until the whole stalk was finished. Mādhavendra Purī stayed there until that time. Grishmakal ante puna nila chole gela, nila chole chatur masyanande rohila. At the end of summer, Mādhavendra Purī returned to Jagannath Puri, where he remained with great pleasure during the whole period of Chaturmasya. Shrimuke Madhava Puri Amrita Chadit Bhaktagane Shunaya Prabhu Kodeya Swadit. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally praised the nectarian characteristics of Mādhavendra Puri. And while he related all this to the devotees, he personally relished it. So now remember, this is Mahaprabhu, right? Telling this whole pastime. He's just taken sannyas, he's left Shantipur and the devotees, and he's on his way to Puri. They stopped in Vermuna, right? And Mahaprabhu is telling this story related to that temple. And Mādhavendra Puri, he's, so important for us, right? He is the actual origin of our line, of Mahaprabhu's line. He's the grand guru of Mahaprabhu, the guru of Nityananda Prabhu, in that role, right? Prabhu kohe Nityananda koroho vichar, Puri sam bhagyavan jagate nahiyar. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Nityananda Prabhu to judge whether there was anyone within the world as fortunate as Mādhavendra Puri. The English actually kind of loses the feeling, but it's like a rhetorical question, right? You can get that. But he's saying, and not judge, I would use the word consider. So Prabhu kohe, Mahaprabhu said, oh Nityananda koroho vichar, Nityananda, please consider, Puri sam bhagyavan jagate nahiyar. Is there anyone? There is no one, actually what he's saying is there's no one as fortunate as Mādhavendra Puri in this world. Like that. Dugnadan chole Krishna jade deka dilo, teen bade swapne asi jade agya koilo. Mahaprabhu said, Mādhavendra Puri was so fortunate that Krishna personally appeared before him on the plea of delivering milk. 3 times the Lord gave orders to Mādhavendra Puri in dreams. Jar preme vash hoya pragata hoila, seva angikar kori jagata tadila. Being obliged because of the loving affairs of Mādhavendra Puri, Lord Krishna himself appeared as the Gopal deity, and accepting his service, he liberated the whole world. So this is another kind of interesting point. It's mentioned sometimes that the Lord, being compelled by his pure devotees, is being pleased, we can say, by the love of his pure devotees. He's compelled to give mercy to others also. That is, we hear that sometimes, that like the pure devotees, it is the devotees who are more in the mood of magnanimity, right? Krishna is a little selfish, actually. Radharani, like, she's thinking about giving mercy, right? Mahaprabhu is Krishna in the mood of Radharani, and he wants to give mercy to everyone. The devotees of the Lord, they have that sentiment. And so that is mentioned sometimes. There's also the incident in Varanasi, right? When Mahaprabhu's just visiting, there's like practically no Vaishnavas in the city. They're all impersonalists. And there's Chandrasekhar Acharya on one side, and who's the other one? I always forget. Chandrasekhar Acharya, and I can't remember. But there's like basically two main Vaishnavas who Mahaprabhu visits, and then there are a couple others, right, who are mentioned here and there. But then there's one occasion where one Vaishnava, we don't have his name, we're not given his name, but it mentions that it's kind of funny because it actually says like he considers, I'm going to have to live here for a long time, and so I need Vaishnavas here. So he arranges this gathering for Mahaprabhu, and he begs Mahaprabhu, like, please come and meet these people, and actually Mahaprabhu melts their heart, right? But it's like but because this devotee like begs him, oh, please come and give mercy to these people, then he comes, Otherwise, he's happy just to exchange with his pure devotees. That's his mood. And also in that song we sing sometimes, how does it go? It's describing, when Kobe, how does it Kobe something? But describing this, when will the pure devotee take me to the feet of the... No, not that song.
Oh, no, that's when will that take you?
Yeah, it's... Oh, how does it begin? We would sing it every evening in Navadip in the Prikrama. I've sung it here a few times. Vishoya Abhiman. But it's describing this scenario, like aspiring for the pure Vaishnava to give their shelter and take them to the lotus feet of the Lord. Because that's the process, right? That the pure devotee will plea for us, will, on our behalf, they will beg the Lord, oh, please give mercy to this person, That's their mood. And so it's saying here, it's a very beautiful expression that, because of the devotion of Mādhavendra Purī, then the Lord is inspired to give mercy to others. I think he liberated the whole world is benefited, by that. Jai lagi Gopinath, kir koilo chodi, ateva nam hoilo, kira choda kodi. On account of Mādhavendra Purī, Lord Gopinath stole the pot of sweet rice. Thus he became famous as Kshira Chora, the thief who stole the sweet rice. So the Lord stole, what belongs to him, for his devotee. He likes to play like this. Karpur chandan jar, ange chadailo, anande pori gosaye premutalila. Mādhavendra Purī smeared the sandalwood pulp over the body of Gopinath, and in this way he was overpowered with love of Godhead. Lecha deshe karpur, chandananite janjal, puri duka pabeha janiya gopal. In the provinces of India governed by the Muslims, there was much inconvenience in traveling with sandalwood and camphor. Because of this, Mādhavendra Purī might have gotten into trouble. This became known to the Gopal deity. Mahadoya Moy Prabhu, Bhakat Vatsal, Chandan Paribhakta Sham, Korilo Safal. The Lord is very merciful and attached to his devotees. So when Gopinath was covered with sandalwood pulp, Mādhavendra Puri's labor became successful. Puri prem parakashta koroho vichar, alokik prem jitte lage chamatkar. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu placed the standard of Mādhavendra Puri's intense love before Nityananda Prabhu for judgment. So again, he's doing this. What do you think of this? All his loving activities are uncommon, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said. Indeed, one is struck with wonder to hear of his activities. Puriya Prem Parakashta. Parakashta means something like the height of his love. Like the acme, or like please koroho vichar, like consider. Everybody, you have to think about this. Just consider like how high, how deep is the prem, is the love of Mādhavendra Purī. Alokik prem chitte Lage chamatkar. If you consider like the miraculous prem, you will be chamatkar. You will be astonished. You will be struck with wonder. Padam virakta muni sarvatra udasin gramya varta boye ditya sangahin. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued. Sri Mādhavendra Purī used to remain alone. He was completely renounced and always very silent. He was uninterested in everything material, and for fear of talking about mundane things, he always lived without a companion. This is mentioned sometimes, like how the great souls, they prefer to stay alone because they're afraid if someone's around, they'll get into Ramya Katha, into mundane topics. And Gurudev mentioned about Lokanath Goswami, the guru of Narottam. He was very extreme, he like that, and he refused to take any disciples, right? And he only finally accepted Narottam because Narottam like really worked hard to convince him, right? Cleaning his stool in the middle of the night and like all kinds of stuff, But Gurudev mentioned one point about him, like how serious he was about avoiding. Gurudev mentioned like he didn't like any company, whether it was good or bad, just any company. And he said like he'd live under a tree and he'd keep, he'd just have like his clothes, and he had a water pot that he'd use to collect water from the Jamuna for drinking and so on. But Gurudev said he would never store any water in the water pot. He would keep it upside down, like by his tree. Because that otherwise, if somebody might come by and say, "Oh, can I have some water?" And then he'd have to get into a conversation. That's how extreme he was,
Left no room for opportunity.
Right, exactly. Watertight. Enojan Gopaler Agyamrita Paya Sahasra Kroshasi Bule Chandan Magiya. After receiving the transcendental orders of Gopal, this great personality traveled thousands of miles just to collect sandalwood by begging. Pokerohe tabuana Magiyana Kai Enojan Chandambar Vahiloya Jai. Although Mādhavendra Purī was hungry, he would not beg food to eat. This renounced person carried a load of sandalwood for the sake of Sri Gopal. Manek Chandan Tola Vishe Karpur Gopale Paraibo Yananda Prachor. Without considering his personal comforts, Mādhavendra Purī carried one mound, about 82 pounds. That's like 40 kg or something like that. 82 pounds of sandalwood. And so he's like carrying that himself. And 20 tolas, about 8 ounces of camphor, to smear over the body of Gopal. This transcendental pleasure was sufficient for him. Utkaler dani rake chandan dekiya, tahaye dailo raja patra dekaya. Since there were restrictions against taking the sandalwood out of the Orissa province, the toll official confiscated the stock. But Mādhavendra Purī showed him the release papers given by the government and consequently escaped difficulties. Lechadesh Dorpat Jagati Apar Ke Mate Chandanibo Nahiye Vichar. Mādhavendra Purī was not at all anxious during the long journey to Vrindavan, to the provinces governed by the Muslims and filled with unlimited numbers of watchmen. So imagine, it's like the Wild West, right? And it's an unfriendly Muslim government, right? All kinds of bandits, gangsters around, and you've got toll officers you probably have to bribe, and like all kinds of stuff. It's not like now, like you just get on a flight, and it's not like like a totally united country, right? But like each province, each state has its own government, actually. It was like that. So, it wasn't an easy task. Sange kvatanahi gati danadite tatapi utsaha bodo chandan loya jaite. Although Mādhavendra Purī did not have a farthing with him. Farthing is, do you know that word? It's a old British currency. Quite old. So, penny, you can say. He was not afraid to pass by the toll officers. His only enjoyment was in carrying the load of sandalwood to Vrindavan for Gopal. Pragata premaye swabhavachar, nija duk vigna dir nakore vichar. This is the natural result of intense love of Godhead. The devotee does not consider personal inconveniences or impediments. In all circumstances, he wants to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Wow. This is the natural result of intense love of Godhead. The devotee does not consider personal inconveniences or impediments. In all circumstances, he wants to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Wow. Etar gada prema loke de kaite Gopal tadiyagya dilo chanda nanite. Shri Gopal wanted to show how intensely Mādhavendra Purī loved Krishna. Therefore, he asked him to go to Nilachal to fetch sandalwood and camphor. This is what we were saying, right? He wants to show the world how much love he has for the Lord. Mādhavendra Purī has. Bahu parishrame chandan remuna nilo ananda bedilo mane dukana ganilo. With great trouble and after much labor, Mādhavendra Purī brought the load of sandalwood to Ramuna. However, he was still very pleased. He discounted all the difficulties. Pariksha karite Gopal koilo agyadan Pariksha kariya sheshe hoilo doyavan. To test the intense love of Mādhavendra Purī, Gopal, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, ordered him to bring sandalwood from Nilachal. And when Mādhavendra Purī passed this examination, the Lord became very merciful to him. E bhakti bhakta priya Krishna vyavahar bujite ama sabar nahi adhikar. Such behavior exhibited in loving service between the devotee and the devotee's lovable object, Sri Krishna, is transcendental. It is not possible for a common man to understand. Common men do not even have the capacity. Itta boli pore Prabhu tar krita shlok, jai shlok chanje jagat, kaya che alok. After saying this, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu read the famous verse of Mādhavendra Purī. That verse is just like the moon. It has spread illumination all over the world. Do you have your phone there? There's an article. Can you go to gaudiyadarshan.com? There's an article, actually, I would like to read it directly. Can you find that? Gaudiya Darshan. Or also, actually, you could go to premadharma.org. Okay, thanks. Let me see here. The tabs, or not tabs, tags. Yeah, so I'm going to stop here. Little bit of a cliffhanger. This verse. No, because it's quite a deep verse. Like that just stands on its own. So we'll read that tomorrow. And there's also some commentary on that. That would be nice to read. But there's, because this whole glorification, right, description of Mādhavendra Purī is very significant. And oh no, it's not working. Let me try premadharma.org. But there's this, I think I might have mentioned it before, but there's this article, actually it's a commentary of Saraswati Thakur about this, on this chapter in his edition of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And he speaks about vipralamba, about the mood of separation that Mādhavendra Purī has. And how, anyway, I'd like to read it properly. Let me look for it here. And how it's because of it, he makes this point, right, that the outcome of intense separation, well, first of all, separation can only be felt when there's intense love, right? And then in the feeling of separation, one is motivated to perform great service, right? Because what is service, right? But it's service is the attempt to unite, right, with our beloved object of love, of worship, right? So in that service, we're feeling some connection, right? And so he makes this point that according to the intensity of separation, so much service will be possible. And how separation, and he makes this beautiful point too, how separation is the only dharma of the soul. For the soul to live feeling separation from the Lord, that is our highest dharma. Like that's our natural, healthy position and feeling. Let me see if I can find it here. The article, it's from this commentary, that chapter. Is it this one? Sri Chaitanya's gift? No, I think there was another one. I don't know if I can find it. That one is also nice, but for tomorrow. It's not coming up. There's this other really nice article that we can read tomorrow about that verse, but there's another one which is taken from Saraswati Thakur's commentary. No, it's not coming up. Let me see. Separation, Dharma. Burning in separation, no. Lord of my heart, no. Okay, maybe I'll have to look it up for next time. Okay, but yeah, those are the main points, I guess, yeah. Let me just try looking in tags. Mādhavendra Purī. What? How can you not have Mādhavendra Purī in your tags? Oh, under Srila. Sorry. Srila Mādhavendra Purī. Must be there. Silly. Here it is. Sri Chaitanya's gift. That's the one I want to read tomorrow. It's not here. I have to find it. Okay, we'll find it. It's from tomorrow.
Oof, double clipping.
Well, I mean, I could, oh no, we can stop for today. This article we can read tomorrow. Wish I could find that other one. Jai Shri Mādhavendra Purī ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai.